Hey guys, Jared Flynn with the BulkLoads podcast. Tyler's in the house with me.
What's going on?
It's August.
Yeah.
Depression is setting in.
Man, we're going in Missouri with a heat wave next week.
Yeah.
And starting this week.
Yeah. Our kids, we're now counting down the days to school, which I'm sure if you're listening and have kiddos, you're doing the same thing. It's like, I need to just embrace the moment. Like, it's going to happen regardless. Just be excited. But I always kind of check August off as like not a fun month because we're going back to school.
The end of summer.
Yeah. So, well, today we're going to bring on Simon Jamel. And man, this guy's got quite the story.
Yeah.
And we're excited to bring him on. And he's been a BulkLoads member for only 6 months, but this guy has listened to every podcast over the past 5 years, I think, over 5 years podcasting.
Yeah, that's what he was saying, that's really how he wanted to prepare himself, because he'd always moved general freight, and he wanted to prepare himself to get into the bulk industry, and he listened to every episode, which kind of prepared him, gave him some of the knowledge to get into bulk, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I love we had members from all over and different phases where they start off. He was in general freight and moved over to bulk.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot we can learn from this conversation with him on kind of what he was doing and why he transitioned over. And again, just everything that he's done to prepare himself to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, and Simon, he's a man of faith, and he gives, a lot of credit to the Lord, which is awesome to see. But in this podcast, he touches on his family too, and just, what did he say? He had 29 nieces and nephews. So it's just kind of cool to dive into, his personal life and kind of how he deals with that with trucking, and shares his story.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, enough said. Here is my conversation with Simon Jamel. Hey, Simon, how's it going?
Jared, I just saw the join button.
Okay, no, I'm actually getting ready to send it to you, but yeah, you're good. Man, cool backdrop too.
Yeah, I was playing around with that. How are you, sir?
Good, man. Thanks for doing this, by the way. Man, I'm glad. I mean, your message that you sent me through LinkedIn was super heartfelt. You didn't have to send that, and that meant the world to me.
Well, no, you don't understand what BulkLoads.com is probably 50% of the reason why I decided to do this. I became a member. I actually bought a trailer, and it took me almost 3 to 4 months to finally get everything rolling. But I listened to every podcast, all 200 and some odd of them, just so I can educate myself about this business. I wish I was this driven when I was actually in college, because I actually quit college to learn to drive to buy my first truck. So
wow, man. Well, yeah, that's the reason why we started it, and it wasn't to, believe it or not, to sell. It wasn't to sell BulkLoads memberships. It was to, hey, we know there's guys out there that are on the road every day. Why not give them good content that they can digest and hopefully have takeaways from it, and hopefully better their business and personal lives, all the above. So, man, that's awesome. I see you're wearing a Smart Freight shirt too.
It's laundry day. That was not intentional, believe me. I just did a webinar with my ELD Connexel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I asked them if I could, mention their product, because I was on a forum for BulkLoads even before I started haul my first load, and the guys were talking about an ag exempt ELD. And being the research knucklehead that I am, I was actually on YouTube, and I watched their videos, and they simplified, hauling ag exempt with just their ag exempt circle, and the way that the whole log just does its thing. So it was a no-brainer, and I wanted to make sure. I don't know how these things work. I just want to let them know, hey, I'm going to be on this podcast with BulkLoads, and I want to make sure it's okay if I talk about your product. So, so I don't get sued.
Yeah, no, we love those guys. We love those guys, and they've been great to work with. They were at our conference last year. We met them at the Mid-America Truck Show. So it's been a good partnership working with them. We're trying to help the same people. So why not kind of collaborate and work together?
I was the one that told them to contact you guys.
Yeah, you said that in that message. You're the reason why.
Yeah, I was like, because I was telling them about BulkLoads. I was talking to Brian Tesh, who's been my sales rep, and
Yeah.
I was telling him, I said, you guys don't go to nothing on BulkLoads? And he's like, what's that? I said, you gotta be kidding me. I said, this is where you need to be, you know? So, but
That's awesome.
that's neither here or there. So it's a
Yeah.
done deal now.
Well, let's get going on this podcast. I made some questions. I'm going to kind of go through theirs, man. I think this may, this may be a bit longer, but I want to get this story down because, man, with just the little nuggets you sent me, I want the rest of our subscribers to hear this. But you mentioned you went from concrete to corn. Explain that.
Well, I was born in England.
Yep.
I lived in South America for a while and came to the United States. And I grew up in the Bronx. So I pretty much wasn't around farms. You don't see farms in the Bronx,
Yeah.
And after 30 some odd years of driving, hauling everything from expensive cars to, oil field work, I decided to get involved in this. And I got so geeked out by farm stuff. I mean, I went to this guy who was a farmer. He let me drive one of those combine things. It was great, and I came up with this idea that from concrete to corn, because it's just such a wide spectrum. I'm so happy that I found this area of trucking, because everything else was becoming boring. I was running out of stuff to do, and I just love the people in this industry, because I'm not battling grocery warehouses in Jersey. I'm talking to farmers and people who are excited to talk to me about my city life as I am about theirs. So it's I love this. I love what I do. And because of you guys, I was on your site and I found RFG.
Yeah.
And they're the only people I've ever worked for. I called them up. I became one of their dedicated carriers. And those guys are great. They make me feel old sometimes because they're very young. But they're all from a farming background.
Yeah.
And so I who knew that you could learn from a 25, 30-year-old, in this industry. That's one thing about trucking. If you think you know it all, you're closed-minded, because you really need to open up your eyes. You can learn a lot. So it's been a great working relationship with them, and I found them on BulkLoads. That's why I say you guys are really responsible for whatever success I have in this industry and whatever connections I have. So
well, I'm deeply humbled you'd say that, and thank you. I want to mention you talk, and I say this to a lot to new drivers when people ask about, why is the bulk industry different than regular trucking? And you mentioned, I tell guys all the time, I go, honestly, guys like it a lot more because they're not, and there are some loads that get hauled to the city, and for the most part, you're dealing with good, salt of the earth, good old boy people, and it's more rural, tends to be a little more rural hauling, especially if you're doing more grain and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think a lot of people, at least me, like gravitate to more dealing with those people versus backing up to warehouse docks, long lines, and I mean all the in between. And yeah, I think that's a good point to make, a clear distinction why people are more attracted to this industry.
yeah, the people that you encounter are a lot different. I've been banned from 3 grocery warehouses in New Jersey that won't let me go back there, and I'm okay with that. Because I stood up for what I felt was right. Today I delivered to a guy in Pennsylvania, and just talking to him, he says, "Do you have another load to go back with?" I said, "No, I don't." He says, "Well, here, talk to this guy. They do soybean pellets or something." And he says, "Give him a call and see what happens." So it turns out I gave him a call. They don't have anything today, but I knew I had to do this, so I don't mind loading tomorrow. So and it's just so much easier. People are so much nicer. I'm in a different place in my life. You know, I got baptized. I kind of like this industry because everything is God bless you, have a great day. I'll say a prayer for you. It's not like that in the grocery warehouse industry at all. You know, you have to be a little thick skinned, and you pretty much walk into a grocery warehouse with your fist balled up because there's a good chance.
Yeah,
you got to fight for everything. So it's just better for me.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm glad you're a brother in the house, man, in the Lord. So yeah, that is awesome. And yeah, you've listened to our podcast, and that was something I was probably more reserved about earlier on. And there wasn't any other reason, but I don't know why, but talking about the faith, but I've realized a lot more people like you and others have reached out to say, man, that's, you need to be, and somebody referenced one time saying, have you ever heard of the lighthouse, out there, out in the ocean and the ships gathered, and it's like, man, you have to be a light, or that lighthouse that people are attracted to, and they want to see the good. And this, Jamal, our industry, or excuse me, Simon, our industry is plagued with negativity, and I'm not saying there's not hard things going on, and the industry goes up and down, but man, I tell us all the time, we need more people to talk about solutions. I don't want to say you have to be around being positive every day, but like there's always going to be issues, and it's how we tackle and deal with them is how we're going to grow.
Right. Yeah. It's as far as being, in the faith, my two elder brothers are pastors. My nephew is a pastor. As a matter of fact, he pastors the church that his mom and dad got married in, and he was baptized in New York. And he's the one
That's awesome.
He's the one that I got baptized in the same church that my dad did, and I flew him down to Tennessee to do it. So that was important for me. I feel so good in this industry because it seems to be more faith based, and everybody's just in a good place. And that's, man, with the way things are in this world, we need a lot more Jesus and God, don't we?
Amen to that. Yeah, I wholeheartily believe that. Simon, I want to talk about, you mentioned RFG and hauling for them for years. What, people have different relationships with shippers and brokers. Talk about your relationship with RFG. I know you said they're young guys, you've learned a lot, but like, why have you stuck with them and done a lot of consistent business with them?
Well, it hasn't been years. I've only been doing this 6 months, 7 months.
Oh, okay. Sorry, 6 months. Okay.
But I've dealt with brokers my whole entire life.
Okay.
They're a unicorn in my eyes, because they're honest brokers. They pretty much give it to you straight, and they work really hard. They're going to see this podcast, and so they're going to know that I think highly of them. But they do work. They do work hard. And I respect what they do. And they're young guys with families, and they have to balance that. Plus, take care of 50 some odd year old babies. Truck drivers. So it's a good balance. They understand. Like I told them, I need to get home. They work really hard to get me there, or at least get me through the house. And I respect what they do. So to be, I'm not looking at anybody else. I'm not going to, and another thing is too, I don't have to factor anything. I know you guys have that factoring business, but pretty much I turn my paperwork in on a Wednesday at RFG. Friday, there's money in my account. That's so,
yeah. Well, and this being straightforward, I tell people this all the time, man, we're here to help on the factoring side. Smart Freight, we promote that. I'm wearing a Smart Freight hat today, or Smart Freight hat today, but
I'm wearing a shirt.
You don't have to use it. Yeah, you're wearing the shirt. If you don't have to, don't use it. And I was actually up in the Smart Freight office last week and talking with one of the ladies. And as sad as it is, we love when people don't need to use us. And people, that may sound odd, but it's like, hey, that means that they're getting a steady cash flow, or they're getting quick pay from someone else, and they don't have to be charged a fee. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Like, yeah, we want the business and we're always here to help. But if we're seeing people prosper, we're doing our job, right?
Right. Exactly. So,
and again, but it's always, we want to be here when people need us. And if people want to use it full time, that's awesome. So either way works for us. And some people like factoring just because it does offload. They like the back end office support where they don't have to worry about the bills. It's just an automated. So we do have guys, I just want to clarify, that use it for that reason alone. And that's a perfect reason where they don't have to worry about, sitting there invoicing multiple different parties. They can send it all to us and we handle it all.
Yeah. I mean, BulkLoads, you don't have to sell me, man. I even bought your children's book, and I'm an uncle to 29 and a great uncle to like 11 or 12. So I bought a couple of your books, and I also met Jesse Figueroa.
Yes, yeah.
And I didn't realize until then. I let other people who were not even involved in this industry listen to that podcast. Because if you think you're having a bad day and things not going well for you, that guy does more by blinking his eyes because he's a paraplegic than you do
Yeah.
in your entire day. And I, on a whim, I called him and we talk regularly now. He's just a good dude.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes he'll surprise and call me and say, "Hey, how's it going?" We're not probably never going to cross paths because of where he is in Florida and what he does. But it was I couldn't believe that his spirit, and because of the podcast I listened to.
And that guy could have went several different ways in life. And man, he is making the best. So yeah, he's an inspiration and encouragement to me. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring him on.
Yeah,
for
I'm glad
sure.
you did.
Yeah. I want to talk about BulkLoads again. And I mean, I don't want you don't need to toot our horn or whatever, but you found RFG, you've been hauling for them. You're still using the board. What would you say to other members out there that are kind of hesitant on using the board? Maybe they say, hey, I got a dedicated haul. I don't need to use the board, right now, I might get it later. What would you say to somebody like that to keep their membership or keep a subscription?
Ooh. I'm going to say this, but I don't want to offend other people.
Sure.
A lot of people use the phone app.
Yep.
There's so much more when you go to the actual website.
Yeah.
So there's guys who are in complete own authority, owner operator purgatory and still working for a company as an owner operator kind of mindset. You got to put the work in. Look, I listen to every podcast before I even pull the hopper. I went over your website, and the app is great, but you really do need to sit down once a day and go through the website. I mean, that's how I found RFG. And after talking to them and realizing that I can become part of what they call dedicated, carrier. It was I'm there, and I don't plan on going anyplace else. So
that's awesome.
I think with the just exploring all the options of the website is you had the gentleman on there from South Africa, and you guys mentioned to him to go look at the shippers and see who has steady freight in a certain area. You got to do the work. I mean, this is it's business. You got to do the work, and I do it, but I don't use it. But nothing in trucking is guaranteed other than aggravation. So something happens.
That's a great quote, by the way. I can remember that.
Yeah. So and here was one of my biggest dilemmas. I didn't want to come into this industry and cheapen it.
Yep.
I didn't want to haul cheap freight. I've never wanted to do that. When I worked for Reliable Carriers, I had a talk with Tom Abrams, who's the owner, and I was talking to him about certain, work. He says, Simon, I don't sell a rate. I sell a service. Because I was kind of upset that he didn't go after a certain, type of business I wanted him to. And that's what I learned to live by. And I talked to a lot of guys to see where, what's the boundaries are for as far as rates go. And I know this market right now is a tough market,
Yep.
and but I don't want to cheapen the industry. When I go someplace, I make sure I wear a decent shirt. We usually wear a collared shirt. I'm selling a service. So
it was interesting. I'll interrupt you. We had I told you I was up in the Smart Freight office last week, and it was our summer party, and we were all gathered around, and I got really emotional. They wanted me just to kind of give a speech. We had some women that had been there the full 8 years that we started the business, and then we gave an award to them. Others had been there 5 years and 3 years. But I simply said, and I got this from the gentleman that founded Ritz-Carlton, but he said, and I said this, I go, you got to realize we're people serving other people. That's what we're doing. We have a service, but we are serving others. That's our, that's what we do. And I look at business in sense and like, you're doing the same thing out there. You're not selling a product, you're selling you. You're selling your service. Your
Right.
job is to serve that customer and client and give them the best value for the service that you're delivering them.
Yeah. I got to mention the parent company, GTR. When I was hauling freight, they had work that I needed, and they had work I needed, and I had work that they needed, and that's how we came together. But when I realized I was tired of grocery warehouses and this stuff, and I wanted to do this, and I wanted to part ways with them, they came to me and said, "Hey, why don't you just we'll make you a partner, just run under our authority, and save yourself the money on the startup insurance, startup authority, and all this other stuff." And I didn't mind doing that because they kind of believe the same thing I do as far as selling a service. That's how we met, is that we weren't going to haul cheap freight. And
Yeah.
I know that's a fear of a lot of guys in the hopper industry that, someone who may transition from freight settle for less. But I know what these loads are supposed to pay, and I am not going to settle for less. I've deadheaded 350 miles because I wouldn't pull a load that wasn't worth it. I
Yeah.
mean, most of the time with these loads, you're grossed out, and which is quite the opposite when I was in the freight industry. They used to call me lightweight logistics. It wasn't, yeah. It's like, where do you find these lightweight loads? I was like, I'm not going to haul, 45,000 pounds to the same thing when I can haul 15. Now
Yeah.
it's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. You're hauling
So,
weight. You're paid on weight. So
yeah.
you're
I'm looking.
maximizing every pound of I was
I
going to
know.
say tons, but yeah.
I'm actually thinking about going to super singles on my truck or trailer, so, which I never
Yeah.
thought I would have done, But
Yeah. You were speaking of your truck, you are in the process of adding another one, you said? Is that right?
yeah, ironically, the first load I ever hauled, um, many moons ago, the wheels weren't quite wooden, but they were close. Um, I was trying to back into a warehouse, and this gentleman came up to me. He says, "How long have you been driving?" And I said, "What time you got?" So I just couldn't hit a door. And he helped me back in, and he's been doing hopper work for a couple of years. He's getting ready to retire. John is 82. He's getting ready to retire. So he said,
Wow.
he said, "I'll come work for you, and I'll train whoever you want me to train if you want to put in other trucks." Here it is, a guy that was like a big brother to me 38 years ago is now coming to work for me and is going to help me, you know, and that's what I want to do. I want to give back. I always
Yep.
said that I want to give back to this industry because it's been very good to me. But I didn't think I'd be giving back to somebody who gave to me 38 years ago.
It's
So,
crazy how things turn full circle. I mean, I'm in my 40s, but even going back and
baby.
yeah, but even like when I started in this industry almost 20 years ago, I'm finding myself going back and acknowledging the people that helped me, the mentors and the people that instilled in me and took the time to give me their attention and the knowledge that I gained. And I heard this the other day, nobody's self-made. It's
Right.
impossible. Nobody's self-made. Everybody had help from somebody that's made it, in their business. And we can look back and like you said, that gentleman, I mean, he inspired you and gave you the encouragement to be where you are today. And
Right.
that's cool how you're now going to be paying it back to him and having him haul for you and even train the next person.
Even people who don't help you. I mean, I have an annoying habit of seeing the best in
Yeah.
every bad circumstance. 8 years ago, I came to Nashville because uh, I needed a liver transplant. I came with, I had 2 weeks left to live. I was pretty much done for. I lost everything that I had. And I got well. I got to spend time with my dad. I got to spend time with a brother that my family adopted. And in the past 8 years, it's probably been the best 8 years that I've ever had because I never would have spent time with my dad before he passed away. I never would have spent time with Josh. I never would be here where I am talking to you if all those things didn't fall into place. And as far as being a man of faith, I get to Nashville, and I don't know if I'm gonna live. But the guy that did my liver transplant, that's in charge of the liver transplant clinic, I played basketball with 30 some odd years ago in New York in New Paltz.
Are you serious?
That's not luck because I'm not Irish. My last name is Jamal. I'm blessed. Okay, so And I acknowledge that. And I'm thankful for that. So, when when people or situations are bad, figure out a way to see the good in that and how it's going to help you. And having a personal relationship with God is going to help you do that. Because I'm telling you, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't get upset about anything anymore.
Really?
I laugh at all. Yeah, yeah. I may get upset when the Yankees lose, which has been a lot lately, but it's all right. You know, either way, I still got to go pick up soybean pellets tomorrow, so it doesn't really matter.
Simon, I want you to talk about. You mentioned buying some of my children's books for your nieces and nephews. We said you had 29 of them.
I have
and
29 nieces and nephews,
and 11 great
nieces and nephews, and not a
I mean, yeah,
grandchild.
that's a huge. Talk about your family overall.
My dad. I am in the middle of. I think there's 12 of us. I'm like the LMNOP part, in the alphabet. The kind you just blow right by. I have 6 amazing women, one resting peacefully, that I get to call sisters. And they are amazing women. I have an amazing family. My 2 elder brothers you couldn't ask for better examples of 2 older brothers. And I have a younger brother who's a truck driver in England, Joseph. And another brother who does construction in England. I have a really good family. We're all pretty close. And sometimes it is really, really large, especially at Christmas. I make one video and I said, Merry Christmas to my favorite sister, and I just send it to six or seven
Just
different
text it
sisters.
to each one.
Yeah, because I'm not doing all that. That's a lot. There's always somebody's birthday,
Yep.
So next week's my daughter's birthday. It's always somebody's birthday.
I was asking about your own kiddos. So you have a daughter.
Yep, a daughter and a son. My son lives in North Carolina, and my daughter, she came home for COVID and never left. So she lives with me. I've got COVID for the past 5 years, so whatever it is, but it's
That can be
okay.
positive.
Look, you know what? I know where she is. I know how she's doing. I don't have to worry about it, even though I'm never home. It's like she's living rent free in a place where she doesn't have to worry about bills. So,
Simon, I got one last question. I was going to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it in a different way. I was going to ask you to just talk about encouraging, the next generation of truckers. But actually, I'm going to ask, what scripture what is your favorite scripture? Or what's near and dear to your heart? What always comes to mind?
So many.
I'll tell you. I'll let you think real quick. I'll tell you mine. And actually, my son the other day, he was wanting to make me a bookmark. Like he was going to make his own little bookmark, and I can put my Bible. And he asked me what it was, and it's Philippians 4:6-7, and it's do not be anxious, do not worry. And actually, I have it even in my wallet. I have a wallet my wife made me, but that's one that just holds near and dear to my heart, because there was a period in my life where, man, I was troubled with anxiety and fear and worry. And as I'm saying this, I get emotional, but like that was something that I clung to, and I love Romans 8:28. All things work together for those who believe in God. But those are 2 that just come to mind. But I'd love to hear yours. And I wasn't even going to go this way on this podcast, but I think I feel like it's worth it.
That's fine. My trailer number is 316, and it's simple because it's simple Simon, John 3:16. I think of how amazing God is, because I would have never given my only son for anybody. You look at some of the stuff that God has sacrificed. His child, Jesus. I would never do that, and that's that's an unreachable mark. Because I watched the other night again. We watched The Passion of the Christ, where I had to watch that movie. When I first watched it, I had to watch it in segments. I couldn't sit through the whole thing. And when they were whipping him, and I think, God is great, and Jesus is even just as great, because I'm telling you right now, if that was me, this world would be a little different.
Oh yeah.
You're not whipping me with that thing. I would say denounce whoever you need me to. So I think every time I look at my trailer number, it's just a reminder to them the sacrifices that God has made for me to be able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
amen to that. Well, Simon, I know this was a little more off the cuff. I just asked you to come on the podcast, and man, you nailed it. I love this, man. I love what you're doing out there. Thanks for being an encouragement for us in the industry, and just keep doing what you're doing. I think, I think we need more people like you out there.
Well, I'm trying. RFG did a write-up on me or put it on social media or something. And I can't believe how my Facebook is blown up and the friend requests I've gotten because they wrote a little article about me and what I like and all this other stuff. And, I'm all in. I'm all in on BulkLoads.com. I'm all in with RFG.
Well, you know what you are.
What's that?
You're the lighthouse, my friend.
Okay.
You're the lighthouse.
Okay.
People are attracted to you. So, yeah, that's awesome. Kudos to you.
Thank you so much for letting me do this. It's when you said yeah, I was like, man, what am I going to tell this guy? What we're going to talk about? But I could talk to you all day. But and not even stuff about BulkLoads. Just about other stuff.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of common ground, and I mean, number one in our faith, but I mean, just the industry that we love and the people that we serve. And I think I can tell right now, and like I said, this is our first, meeting that we've ever had, but we have so much in common, which is awesome. So,
yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And I told a few of my friends, they were texting me like, "Are you doing it? Are you gonna?" But I really appreciate you taking the time so much and giving us a chance to speak. And like I said, you guys, Jesse, RFG, GTR, those are all things that that made me do what I'm doing and dedicate myself to this. And it's not like work. It really isn't. It's the best fun I've had in trucking. And believe me, I've had some really good jobs. I hauled exotic and antique cars for years, and I wouldn't trade, a load of corn for a Ferrari any day of the week. At least I don't have to worry about scratching a load of corn.
That's
scratch somebody's $1 million Ferrari, you got an issue.
So, very cool. Awesome. Cool. Simon, hey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you too. And all the guys there too. Thank you.
What'd you think?
Simon's a really down to earth guy.
Yeah.
And you can just tell just the way he was cracking jokes in the podcast. Like he's just
sharp.
Yeah. Like you said, he's the lighthouse. He's just, everybody gravitates towards him. But yeah, he's got a cool story. I love that he was wearing a Smart Freight shirt during the podcast.
And he's not a Smart Freight user yet, I should say.
Yeah. Which is cool. And, it was a cool opportunity to touch on Smart Freight, especially with, I just saw the other day that the Fed increased interest the other day.
Well, not only that, we're hearing from a lot of trucking companies that are looking at factoring, using other factoring companies, that they won't factor bulk shippers. And I think a lot of it, and we're seeing this too, money's getting tight, interest rates are going up. So we're seeing kind of a constriction on that. But I hate to hear that guys aren't getting their money quick enough or having to look at factoring. If you are, look at Smart Freight. We actually, that is our bread and butter, is factoring bulk commodity shippers. A lot of these companies where other factoring companies won't factor, we will gladly factor them. They've been members usually on BulkLoads for years without any hiccup or any problem.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're struggling out there today looking for better cash flow, and it's not necessarily if you just want peace of mind.
Yep.
I tell people all the time, it's about getting your money fast, but more importantly, just having an organization, knowing exactly how you get that. You're guaranteed to get your money. You're kind of outsourcing that task.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the guys, they may think of it, especially guys who's never used factoring before, they might think it's a, extra process they have to go through, but it's actually simple. I mean, because it's all done through the BulkLoads app, so these guys can just type a couple things in, scan their tickets, send it to Smart Freight, and they get paid next day.
Yep. So not to get a plug there, but yeah, if you are wanting a better way to handle your money, have more clarity and more peace at mind, contact Smart Freight. You'll put the link down in there. you just get on BulkLoads. You'll see all the links. We'll get you over there. Jackson's leading that now and doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, Jared, we got some exciting things coming up that we're looking forward to. We got the Bulk TMS, BulkLoads Plus webinar coming up in a couple weeks, August 23rd. It's a Wednesday in the afternoon. Basically, what it is, we're just going to do a high-level overview of our TMS system. If you don't know what a TMS system is, it's just a way to better manage your freight, and it's a system just geared to the bulk industry, based on the bulk industry. That's what we hear a lot of guys when they talk about their TMS is like, this thing doesn't understand hopper freight, or, it doesn't calculate grain. And that's why, we kind of built this system that way it understands all those measurements.
Well, we had a recent TMS company sign up, and they weren't using any kind of dispatch or TMS program, and they hired this dispatcher, I think, that came from another program. And what did he say? He goes, "You guys are idiots for not having a program," just in general, and got them onboarded. And they recently got onboarded, and I'm for sure they're going to be successful at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people wonder, do I qualify to use it? And I would say, if you're somebody who has multiple trucks, if you're a broker or a shipper, you definitely qualify for it. And what we see a lot in the bulk industry is a lot of guys still use Excel for, their dispatching to keep track of all that.
And we have nothing against Excel, but there's a lot better way that you can be doing it.
Yeah, and we'd love to show you how we can do that, and it's not hard or a complicated process.
So what we're going to do, you can contact us anytime, but we're hosting a webinar, which I've done a couple of these. If you don't know what a webinar is, it's basically you sign up and you can get on there and actually get a demo. And what's cool about it is it's at your pace and your leisure, as far as kind of what you want to see. But I think this will give you clarity whether or not this is a product or solution that's going to benefit your company.
Yep. And so we put it in the forum. We've have actually a couple people sign up already, but you can go to bulktms.com. There's a webinar tab there. Just click on that, sign up, or you can see it in the forums. We'll also put it in the news section here as well.
Yep. So check that out. We keep saying this, but our bulk freight conference is going to be coming up next year. And every week somebody asks us about this. It is getting bigger and more exciting. We're super excited about this. I haven't gotten nervous yet, but I'm sure as we get closer. But we're really excited to host our second annual Bulk Freight Conference coming up next April. Again, we're ways out, but if you are interested, go to bulkfreightconference.com and you can sign up. We're not issuing tickets out yet, but we will be. But you can get on that newsletter so you know when they will be released, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also if you'd love to, if you have a company and you'd love to sponsor the conference as well, just let me know. You can contact me at Tyler@BulkLoads.com. We can go from there.
Okay. I forgot to mention the hat that I have on today, Michael Tillman.
Tillman Trucking.
Yeah, Tillman Trucking. We were just talking about we love this leather patch. But we're honoring and celebrating Tillman Trucking today. Thank you for sending the hat. If you want to be featured on our row of hats, send us a hat. We will put it back on there. I will gladly wear it and sport it for you.
Yep.
I'm always honored to showcase and advertise fellow members of BulkLoads.com. So, and then lastly, before we head out of here, as we always say, if you have a prayer for yourself or know of somebody that's in need of prayer, contact us. You can go to prayer@BulkLoads.com. It's completely anonymous, and we will pray for you. We typically take those and we'll write them down, and we'll have someone here in the office pray specifically for those needs. So we definitely encourage of that. We've gotten several in over the past week, and we are praying for those out there.
Yep.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening to the BulkLoads podcast. If you know of somebody else that can benefit from this or this conversation, please share this. It's pretty easy to do from your phone. There's usually a quick shared link. We would greatly be honored and appreciative of that. So thank you very much. And as always, God bless.